called for to show His excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation, been called for to show His excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, for I know who I am. I know who God says I am, what He says I am, where He says I'm at. I know who I am. I know who God says I am, what He says I am, where He says I'm at. I know who I am. I'm working in power. I'm working miracles. I live a life of favor. Invite your friends. I'm working in power. I'm working in miracles. I live a life of favor. Invite your friends. I know who I am. We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation. Hello, everybody. This is Diane with dDTalks. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is another edition of dDTalks. It's another Sunday, Uncensored Sundays with Diane. All right, our topic today is about childless. Invite your friends, invite your loved ones. It should be a good and interesting conversation. Let me know what your thoughts are as we go live. I'm listening to your comments. I'm watching your feedback. First of all, share, tag, and invite your loved ones. Listen, I came on a little late because you know how Sundays are. Some things going on, but as you notice, new setup, new everything. We're taking things to the next level. Okay, so let everybody know that's what we're talking about today. Okay, our topic today is about childless. Do you know anybody who is of age, doesn't have kids, and what is their take about it? What do they really think about this notion? It's a sensitive topic, but I hope that we will address it in the best possible way. Okay. So guys, again, like I said, our topic is about, by the way, again, like I said, share, tag, invite, let everybody know that we are live. I know it's Sunday, everybody's getting ready to, retire for the day. But I wanted to let you know as well that if you wanted to call in to contribute to the conversation, you can call in on 301-219-9292. You can call 301-219-9292. Our topic today is about childless. We live in a time, in an era where I think it's not even a time or an era. It has always been that way. Okay. They've always talked about childlessness. People, it's a big thing. I mean, in our culture and in the society in which we live in, not having kids is a big deal, especially if you're in a marriage, or if you're just an adult with no kids. It becomes a problem. So let's see how we can dissect it. All right, let's see how we can dissect that. Hey guys, if you're liking the vibe, first of all, I mean, I just want to appreciate, before I really get into all the serious talks, what do you guys think about the new setup that I have? Give me some hearts, give me some likes if you're feeling the energy for the new setup and everything. It's not a new setup. You see, I have different platforms. We still have a WBGR, we still have all the other platforms that I use to come on here. I'm just saying, I just want you guys to understand that dDTalks is serious. We're taking things to the next dynamics, and it's thanks to you guys. I really want to take a few minutes to just appreciate all of you, for consistently being there, for constantly supporting us. This venture just we come live. I come live all the time just to bring you hot topics, sensitive, those things that give us the goosebumps, give us the itches to talk about, right? I bring you that information just so that we can talk about it. It's not for me, it's not to make you uncomfortable, but it's just so that, we can address those issues and begin a dialogue, begin an honest conversation, begin a true conversation about how things are going. All right. So if you're live, let me know. Give me some hearts, guys. I need to see your energy. I need to feel you guys. It's not enough. Come on, guys. All right. I see some feedback. Dexter. Hey, shout out to Dexter. Dexter Brains. Shout out to you. You know what? I'm giving you a shout out. Special shout out. Um, Arinze, hello, Patrick. Let me first of all, I'm just gonna be a little bit untraditional today because since I'm solo, I don't really have a guest coming through. I have time to appreciate it, just to say the welcomes, to welcome you through. Let me know what city you're joining me from, so that I can take a few minutes to appreciate you guys. I'm just, enjoying the new vibes, the new flavor that's that's coming through here, in the studio, in the new studio, guys. I'm excited. I hope you guys had a fantastic Sunday and you're ready for the week ahead. Are you? If you are, Mama Sylvia, hello, hello, hello. Ohio in the house, welcome. Patrick, you're in the neighborhood. You said Laurel, hello. Who else is on the line? Let me know why before I delve right in. Again, like I said, I'm talking about a topic that is super sensitive, super sensitive. But I hope I have the grace to address it, because a lot of people, the reason why people, first of all, one of the commandments uh, in the beginning of time, based on my denomination, my beliefs, right? The maker, one of the commandments that he gave to mankind was, go ye and multiply. And what does it really mean to multiply? So you can look at multiply from the direct, very literal sense of it. Multiply just simply means go and multiply yourselves, right? So I created man and woman, Adam and Eve. Now the mandate is to go and multiply, go and procreate, essentially. But go and multiply also means go and take the talents, go and take the gifts that I've given you, whatever is vested in you, take that information, take that knowledge, and also go and multiply it. Make the best of it. Maximize what you currently have and then take it to the next level. That's really what also it means to say, go ye and multiply. Grace, this is what. Okay, Grace, thank you for the feedback. Let's start. Thank you for the feedback, guys. I love it when you guys give me feedback, right? It makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate that. Just to say, we're evolving, so that's part of the multiplication right here, the multiplier factor. So that was one of the mandates, right? So I believe that based on that mandate, go and multiply as man and woman. I think if you get to a point where you don't multiply, um, it becomes a problem because I think we've come to accept that you have to multiply. But then as scripture itself goes further, you find that there are examples of people who did not procreate. In some instances, God Himself shut the womb. And in other instances, you realize that, in some cases, it could be just normal, it could just be diseases, it could just be something, a disability, just abnormalities with your body. So you understand that child, having procreating life, while it may seem like it was a mandate, or it was part of the rules, the requirement, right? It just doesn't come like that. They say, you know um it's a blessing. It's a blessing because if you have not seen how life comes through, or if you have not seen a couple that struggles with trying to conceive, you would really not, you would take for granted what it means to just bring life, bring new life onto the earth, right? So one of the things that I want you guys to really pay attention to is the fact that it's not a given that everybody would do this. So the way I'm going to try to tackle this conversation, hey guys, invite your friends, invite your loved ones, tag, and share. Share as dDTalks. We're talking today about childless. I know some people commented when I talked about the topic. Some other people send my private messages in the inbox. Some others, give a phone call just to share their input. The reason I said childless, and then another person actually said it looked like it was it seemed sad, it seemed melodramatic and stuff. Well, I'm going to spell. The reason I said uncensored is because it is exactly what it is. It is tragic. It is melodramatic. Okay, when people say you're childless, that's just what it is. People are blunt about it. Some people are really crude. Some people are just vicious even about the notion that you do not have a child. But why would they term you childless? Let's look at the lives, the range of a woman. So the productive years, I think the average productive years of a woman, they believe that the average woman, you mature into womanhood, where they see that you can start procreating, bringing life to earth, is from the age of about 15 to, let's say, 45, 44, 45. Really is the range that they give women, where they consider your eggs are still fertile, you can still conceive freely and bring life. And I mean, now with modern science and modern technology, women are going all the way to 50 and bringing life, and some even a little bit right over that age. We've seen that medically. So we're defying science these days. Science is stretching itself, is stretching its limits, and women are just having a longer period to stretch their organs to produce life. And then for men, as we already know, men have a longer span, so to their advantage or to their credit. So they may go to about, I would say 65, some even 70, but really seriously, 70 is like cutting close. The downside of going to the end at the end spectrum before you create life is that the older you are before you bring life, chances are you consider high risk for women. And then there are other medical challenges, because they say, okay, you're really at the far end of the spectrum. So the most productive years will be like ideally for women in their 20s. So when a woman crosses that age range, once a woman has crossed her 20s and she is not she's not married, doesn't have kids, okay, families start raising eyebrows, right? They starts being concerned as to why hasn't that, they start, nudging you, gently nudging you, like you need to, you may be crazy about life, be doing whatever you want, but do not take for granted that this is around it. You should be thinking about this. If you're working on your career, they're like, it's not all about career, right? And then you go into your 30s. By the time you start getting to your mid 30s, quite frankly, as a woman, they see you as motherless, is childless. And our societies are quite blunt about that. They just ask you, you never born, get picking, like you don't have a child. And I'll speak lingua franca because is to express my originality and how those conversations come about, or how they term you. And those things have begins to put a lot of pressure. Hi Kunis, welcome. Dexter, okay, so you're right. So it brings down, it starts those comments, right? When you start understanding that there's that pressure, there's now added pressure on you to do what you're supposed to do. They feel like, okay, you are not bringing life. For the men, actually, they give them a wider window. So you're in your 30s, it's still okay. A guy could go up to his 40s with no child, and they will still not name them childless. So childless, the term childless automatically links you to, automatically defaults to a woman without a child. Whereas childless is also even a male. And why do I say that? Is because we naturally, if you see a couple that is that is married with no kids, and they've been married for a few years with no kids, naturally they just assume that the woman cannot have a child. They just assume that the woman probably has infertility issues or she has some kind of complications and that is her fault. But we've come to find out, nowadays that there are also some men who have low sperm count and who also are unable to, they shoot blue balls, what is it? Shoot blank balls, right? In other words, whatever they're sending out is not, just cannot fertilize the egg, to bring the baby. So that creates a tension. So that's one thing that we fail to admit or fail to look at, about the fact that that men too are infertile. So the blame automatically goes to women. That's just the abstract statement to that. Now, the reason for this topic is because a lot of people are extremely insensitive to why women are childless, because they cannot comprehend, they cannot understand why, you are a woman at that stage in your life, and you're hinging on your late 30s and nothing has happened. But there are reasons why somebody could actually be at that stage in their life and they don't have a kid. So let's look at some of the possibilities, some of the career possibilities. Again, guys, I'm looking at your comments. I'm looking at your feedback. If you have comments, if you want to call in, I'm here. I'm here to listen. You can actually dial the number that's scrolling through your screen right now. If you wanted to send in your, to be live with any contributions, that's the number to call in into the studio. So I'll pick up your call, and then the audience can hear you, and also. Hey, Kate, Killam, welcome, guys. So again, we're talking about, so what are some of those reasons why someone would perhaps not be able to bring life? So number one, as a female, some women would much rather prefer to not bring kids into the world unmarried. They don't want to do it single. So they would want to be married. So if you're in that category of women who is waiting on Mr. Right, and Mr. Right is taking his jolly good time, or Mr. Right is just out there in the universe wandering, has taken all the wrong exits on planet Earth just to get to you, it may be forever, right? Or it may take a long while before you finally get to that place where Mr. Right locates you. And for you, it could mean, you go way past, your 20s, way past your 30s, and hinging into your 40s. And some people have gone to the point where they waited and waited, and biologically, the clock actually struck on them. So that time came, and guess what? It didn't happen. It didn't happen for them, right? So guys, if you're just like really wondering, about all of that, so there are those people who fall in that bracket of they're just waiting for Mr. Right. Mr. Right did not come, or Mrs. Right. You're waiting for Miss Right to show up in your life before you begin to have babies, and that doesn't happen for you. So you could find yourself in a crazy situation where you look around, or there are situations where some people, they got into a bad marriage the first time around. Maybe it didn't happen, you were with the wrong partner, or you stretched it out, your relationship just wasn't blossoming as you thought. You got in there, you had crisis, so it extended your productivity time. So maybe you spend 5 years in that relationship. Some people even 5-10 years in a marriage that probably did not create life, and then you move from there. So now that could have moved your age bracket into another level. We're looking at some possibilities as to why there's the fact that we're looking. I'll respond to your question, Edmond, or your comment. There's the fact that you have a child defining you as a man or woman. That's a very good question. I'll touch on that. I'll touch on that in a little bit. So another thing too is, and another thing too is, you could be in, especially for women, you could be in a series of crazy relationships, maybe not by choice, but you could just find yourself from one relationship into another, and it's just not panning out the way you want. Or you could be in a relationship with someone who already has children and they don't desire more children. So if you're somebody who is wanting children, that should be a conversation that should happen, right? Because if they already have kids and you want kids, then you should make sure that that is a topic that is addressed up front before you even get it, especially for the women. For the men, I mean, you could, I think there are men too who have been, who are married to some women who say by choice they don't really want to have kids. So those are some of the reasons. And then for some other people, it could just be that they terminated the life, when the pregnancy came, out of fear, out of fright, or maybe at a younger stage in their lives. Maybe you may have been in a situation where the environment was not conducive. Maybe fear of parents, fear of society. Just you felt like you were not ready. There were things happening in your life, so you took some radical decisions. Took away the pregnancy. And in some cases where it was done in very crude manners, some people, maybe their wombs are even ruptured along the way. So that could have affected how maybe later on in life you're unable to bring new life. Okay, you're unable to bring new life into the scenario. And then there are other cases where just illnesses or other sexually transmittable diseases could affect your ability to conceive safely. And of course that doesn't, then the natural infertility issues too as well. Some people would need to take medications, to be on pills, and or whatnot. Some people also need artificial, they need to be inseminated, medically, and all those procedures cost money. So it's not that you cannot conceive, but maybe you need to be, you have to have in vitro, you know uh, uh, done to you. But some people just cannot afford it, because most of the times the insurance doesn't really cover that expense. So here you are desiring it, but it is not, you cannot afford it, because babies that are born out of those situations cost a lot of money. So if you fall in a bracket where you desire it, but it's just not happening because of financial constraints, then you may just fall in a category of, you remain childless. And people would not, perhaps not really necessarily understand, where your plight is coming from. And people are unsympathetic to that anyway. They don't really want to know. I mean, they just jump straight into conclusions that maybe you don't desire it. I mean, some people even go as far as saying, it's because you don't want it. They just conclude for themselves. They choose to conclude for themselves that because a person doesn't have a child, therefore it could mean they're insensitive, or they're being selfish, or they're just preconcerned with just their own lives, and they're not thinking about the future, or they're just stuck in a time frame. So those are some of the things that will trigger that, will trigger some of those things. But some of the misconceptions is that there are actually people out there who choose, who say, you know what, as a couple, the truth is, if you come from an African descent, very rarely would that really be a factor, a consideration. Africans don't really opt out of children, because culturally you're meant to have children, then pass it over, pass your inheritance to them. You're supposed to just extend the family tree by procreating. So very rarely would you see a scenario where it's a choice, where an African person says, I choose, or I chose not to have a kid. 9 out of 10 times, if that happened, is because some situation, there's a history behind that choice. Okay, but don't be quick, or don't be hasty to just conclude that it was a personal or insensitive choice to that regard. Okay, so that's another paradigm as far as that. So there are people who decide that as a couple, maybe they just don't want to have, they just don't want to have kids. Some people also have, let's say, they also had a bad childhood. They were raised in a horrible environment. They were not raised by proper parents, or maybe they lived they were grew up in foster care homes, or from hand to hand. They were raised by extended relatives and didn't really have a joyful childhood experience. And they just feel like, you know what, I don't really need to bring life because maybe they feel like they are not in that situation. And to those people, if you know that you are not capable of raising a child, of taking care of another life, then you're really truly better off, not bringing life. Because what would be the point if you brought the life and you're not there for the child, you're not there to really be the effective parent that you ought to be to that child. So there's some people who decide that, um, out of choice, I actually prefer to love myself more, or I prefer to have my personal time, or I prefer to just assist other children. Maybe they say, I'll just contribute to an orphanage, or I'll just contribute money to a charity. And if I want to go see some kids, I have relatives who have kids, or I can bring whoever, I can just go hang out with some kids whenever you want to. So some people actually say, they value their time, they value just being by themselves. They understand who they are. They understand that, having children has its own limitations, and they opt out. They just say, that's not a choice for me. And some people opt out, but they choose to bring, pets into their family as a supplement. They say, okay, you know what? I don't want biological kids, but this is what I want. Some people say, I don't want to birth the child out of my belly, and they would choose to, adopt. That's why the process of adoption exists anyway. Is because for some people they could say, you know what? I don't want to do this, but I still want to raise a child, or I don't want to. Some people are more concerned about their physical bodies, and they'll say, you know what? I don't want my body to alter because we know that a lot of women's bodies transform dramatically for some, and for some they're able to maintain the same body pre and post delivery, right? So, excuse me, in some cases, some people say, you know what, I don't want my body to change, so I'll just do I would get a surrogate mom. So you have another woman, you pay another woman to carry that baby for you. And in other scenarios, it's because you truly just cannot. Your body cannot hold the pregnancy. So you have fertile eggs, but maybe your cervix or your womb or something is loose. You just cannot retain. You're unable to carry the full term. So you may have to get a surrogate parent to do that for them. The reason why this conversation is big is not so much about the all the options that are available, but it's to really focus on the insensitivity of the people that range around us, or how our African community really still processes these issues. So a lot of people would just pinpoint you, or they have this sorrowful look at you, like, oh, you don't have children, like, the world just came to an end. You don't know the story behind it. And it's not like, and the thing is, if you're asking the topic and you're not like a willing donor, or you're not a willing participant, you're not trying to help mitigate the situation, why are you really asking if you know you're not going to, you're not trying to be a part of the solution? So why are you really asking some obvious questions? Okay, you meet a woman, she's maybe of age, that's what she's considering, and then you're bringing up the conversation that is already sensitive as it is, but you're bringing it just for the sake of bringing it. So the thing is to urge people to be more sensitive to that kind of conversation. That it's sometimes it's not because they desire that way, but sometimes because situations shit, sorry, excuse my French, but stuff happens, and there's usually a narrative behind it. I understand, wanting to get the storyline, or just trying to understand what it is, but it is also very important to also partake, to really just be more empathizing, to that conversation. So Eureka says no to womb police. I mean, I love that hashtag, no to womb police, because a lot of people take it upon themselves to question you about what is going on in your womb. That is really what essentially it is. No to womb police is those people who go out, uh, 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 go the extra mile to make you uncomfortable about your situation. It already is uncomfortable as it is, that you are existing in a society where they find it abnormal that you don't have a kid, and then they still go the extra mile to perhaps accentuate the topic. Like the people who say maybe you're not, which now will bring me to the topic of responding to what Edmond further ahead earlier on says. Does the fact that you have a child define you as a man or a woman? That, I mean, I think that's a question that I would even want people on the feed to respond to. Does it? Does motherhood or fatherhood really define you as a person? Okay, so yes, you grow up and you become an adult, you become an individual. If you're a good contributing citizen, are you contributing to your society? Are you leaving footprints? Are you really assisting? Other than the fact that perhaps you don't have a direct legacy of yours, like someone who would carry your name further down the road. But and then of course now with the population, let's not even go there, with the population of with the whole population of people, same-sex partners that exist right now, the pool is dwindling even further of possible partners that would help procreate life. But then you have people who would ask this question. So my question is really, is it bringing a child to life that qualifies you to have a voice? Because there are even people who go as far as saying, or is it because you don't have a child that you're unable to caution others, or you're unable to speak logically to a child? What people don't understand is that just because someone is not a father, biological father, or a biological mother, it doesn't mean they cannot parent a child. It just doesn't mean that. Or it doesn't mean that you cannot keep them in the confines, or trust them with a minor. That the two are unrelated. They are completely unrelated. Or does it mean that because they have not father or mother a child, that they cannot they cannot give advice to another parent? You cannot see another parent and tell them that this particular thing. One thing that people fail to understand, or they isolate from the two, is that as an adult you were once a child, and as a child you had your own experiences. As a child, there are things that you experience first of all before you become a parent. What experience did you really have? You gain the experience until when you're with knowledge from what you learn from your parents, or what you see other things that you continue to incorporate and inculcate into your habits, and then you introduce into your values. So you may go to another environment, you see something, you see how what a family is doing to their own kids, and you say, you know what, that's a good thing that you're going to incorporate in yours. So we are constantly learning and constantly evolving. No one parent can say, I know it all. And I mean, if you're arrogant enough to say you know it all, hey, good for you. But I don't think that there's any one person who has all the answers. I think we're meant to just learn and lean from one another. But some people will go as far as to say you're unqualified. Who are you to give advice, or who are you to do certain things? Granted that there is an experience that can only come from the natural experience of you being a parent, of you birthing, or do that experience is just what it is. What it is, it's just what it is. If you've gone through the process, carried the baby to term, you have the experience. Nobody can take that away from you, and it's an honor, it's a privilege. But to now say, to equate the two, to say because somebody has not gone through that process, they are unqualified to do certain things. There are books, there's material for everything, and there's no subject literally that on this earth right now that does not have documentation about how things happen. Case in point, you can bring to birth 3, 4, 5 kids, and each experience is completely different from the other. Each pregnancy will carry its own traits, at least from what is said, or for what people who have done it actually always express. So what we're trying to say here is that, can people really stop being insensitive or being crude? People use it as a jab. They use it to insult people. I mean, you have relatives. Even relatives would downplay you. They undermine you. They disqualify you. They feel like there are situations where you're not even eligible to sit on the round table for, because you don't fall in that category, and understandably so and respectfully so. If you're not in that category, you're not in that category, right? But in life you're then exempt from certain things. Even churches sometimes, I feel, hold, should I say, I don't know if I would call it mean, or is it insensitive, or what. On things like Mother's Day, you have there are places where they will give roses just to people who are biological mothers or stuff, and they fail to understand how insensitive it is to people who perhaps have been in marriages that have been desiring that, just because it hasn't happened for them does not mean that they didn't desire it and therefore they're exempted from being recognized. I mean, what would it take for them to just, recognize all the females in that particular scenario? So what we're saying is, I just think that people have to develop society cannot, what did you say? Eureka says what? Society cannot base people's level of responsibility based on if they're parents or not. I mean, Eureka, that is a very valid point that you're making right there. But unfortunately, it is what it is. That's what people base their thoughts, base their feedback on that. That's the way people have come to a position where they rationalize it. They rationalize adults, or you could be in a place where you're doing something, you're perhaps you're excelling, and then they will find a way to bring you down by highlighting that point. I think we have a way of they hit you on a spot that they feel is you're most sensitive to, or what. So imagine that they're couples. Just imagine a couple who has been desiring a child for, and when they've been married, they're still hanging on to that marriage, they're still believing God, or they're still believing, maybe they're going through tests, they're going through fertility runs and all of that. And then there's added pressure. First of all, in that scenario, I mean, if you're African, you know that the in-laws they have a bag of pressure on you. Now, forget that they're not looking at the fact that there's a potential that husband you're with may have low sperm count. But let's look at a scenario where husband is fine, has been tested, sperm counts are great, and all of that. Perhaps he even has, he even has other kids out there, and you are now in this marriage. Believe me, the pressure is like a lot of times it's not so much that the couple themselves cannot withstand their own storm. Is more the pressure, that's the external pressure. It's more the in-laws that are putting added pressure on the couple, like, why this person is just taking up room, you're just eating up space, this house. Or they may throw comments at you like, this house is just too big for the two of you. In other words, these are like silent jabs. They're interjecting comments there that basically implying that, you cannot be living in space like this that is not occupied by. Or they would say, I cannot wait to hear the sound of my baby. They're insensitive to the fact that perhaps you just came from a fertility test. Maybe you did one of those runs, and because I've been with coworkers, I've been with friends that have been going through that cycle where they had to do the in vitro insemination, where they go through. It takes, like, you have to wait first of all for the cycle, you have to wait for your cycle, and we know how women's cycle is. You have to wait the full 28 to 30 days. You wait for it, and then they do the sperm, they do the injections and stuff, and then you wait for another 3 to 4 weeks to see if it fertilized, or if it held, it materialized. I mean, it's just a rigorous process that a lot of women are going through. And then you come back to some insensitive relative or some insensitive friend who will just throw those comments back at you. The thing is that the qualifying factor for you being an adult? We understand that the pressure is real, that the tension is there, everything is, but can people be less insensitive to those things? I think that, if a person chooses to bring life or not, they deserve some privacy. If you hear that somebody is going through a disease, maybe they have some, what would I call it? Somebody named some kind of random disease. You have cancer, or you have something, nobody bursts out just laughing because that person is going through that problem. But why are some people so insensitive when you hear that another person has, or throw those kind of comments? If you hear that somebody is being challenged by that, they may say, oh, I understand, but then they go around and say, oh, you need to do this first before you this. In other words, if you don't have this. But what if you're going to go through life and not have it? So are you going to remain unqualified just because you didn't have that? What about the people who just never could? They tried it, they did all they could. I can understand if you've done your best and it just didn't happen. But there are some people who say, and for those people who say, I don't want it, what's in me your concern now? What does it concern you what somebody chooses to do with their life? How is it your real true business? I mean, family stepping in, I can understand, because they are family, they have the rights to step in. and even maybe close friends have a right to step in and caution or advise. You maybe I know it's usually well meaning. They say, you should be mindful that this and stuff. But do they know the stuff that you're probably doing in the background? There's just some stuff that some people do not desire to share all the time. So I think that people just need to get to a point where they respect those. That would be a space that I would call boundaries. I would say there are boundaries. You can listen. If they're willing to talk about it, let them talk about it. But if they don't want to talk about it, it's not your place to be introducing conversations that put people on ill at ease, really, ill at ease. So again, there's things like there's family, there's friends, there's just pure illnesses and things that could affect that. And let's say you were going through a disease in life earlier on in life. It could have caused ramifications. It has an impact on how you will then move on to create life. So are there any questions, are there any are there any concerns, any feedback that you want to ask? Perhaps I may be able to contribute to your questions, or any other comments that you would like. It's a responsibility to love and respect all women, regardless of their womb choice. Large families, no children, one child, whatever people choose to do with their wombs is their business. I think, Eureka, that's one of the reasons why I respect, your movement with No Mommy Picking Left Behind. While it is a No Mommy Picking Left Behind, in other words, it represents the fact that you advocate for women, mothers, to not lose themselves, lose their identities in the whole process of motherhood. You also advocate for the fact that there are people who perhaps maybe they have even lost a child, or they've gone through a miscarriage. So they are unable to, at this point, medically science has proven that they are unable to take advantage or partake in this joy that comes from it. And then, so I like the fact that you recognize all spectrums, that people fall in all categories, and that either way they're meant to be respected. If you're coming from a place of pure love, pure concern, and you nudge somebody, and they're willing to listen and hear you out, then you can speak to them on that capacity. But to now come and invade them to a point where you feel you have the rights to say certain things, I think is outright wrong. And to look down on other people just because they're not is also another category that I would say is wrong and insensitive. So let's just rise up and just have a different take, a different perspective to that. If the men there who are in marriages, if we go in Africa, there is such a hard struggle for a man. I think men feel emasculated if they were to be told that they have a low sperm count, because I think manhood is essentially the fact that you can procreate, right? You can bring life. So when a man hears that prognosis or the diagnosis that they are not, or they cannot fertilize, I think it does something to the ego of the man. I think somehow, I don't know, women are just cut out slightly differently. It's more the stigma that is on the women that makes the journey difficult for them to accept, right? Or to embrace. They may have had they may be willing to accept that, okay, this is my story and this is what's going to be, but the stigma, that the negativity that rises around it, is what will make it difficult for them to deal with or accept whatever the scenario is. And considering that very few people are willing to commit these days. A lot of people don't want to commit. There are people, there are men who bounce off, runaway dads, and or people just obligations, just the fear of child support, the fear of this is leading some good people to opt out of those churches. They're like, you know what, I'm gonna wait off until they know you have everything together before you can really get into this. Those things are delaying the journey for both parties, right? So whereas people would have wanted to do it a lot earlier, now they're procrastinating and doing it, opting out much later, which I understand is completely respectable. Again, unless you're in that space, people just need to get to a point where you understand that ain't none of your business, ain't none of ya, right? None of your business to really invade and get into that kind of space, right? So what was the question? Arisa says, so what type of awareness should be championed for both men and women to educate them on some potential causes of this? What do you tell people that actually don't mind their business poking nose into other people's life? What do you tell them? What do you tell them is that it's really none of your business, and maybe that's just outright pointed out. I think if people got enough of those responses from the people who are in this kind of situation, I think people will learn to back up. But the way to the safest way to really bring this, me, I don't believe in just outright shutting them down, because you try to understand where people are coming from. See, if you can gauge in your spirit or in yourself that they're coming from a genuine good place, then you give them the answer, you give them an honest answer. You could just tell them, hey, this is what's going on, this is your story. For some people it could be that medically they are challenged. For some people it could be they're waiting on a spouse. For some people they're waiting for a right mate to procreate with. Listen, I mean, bringing life is already precious as it is, and it is even divine. It is something that, don't take for granted what you have in your hands, because there are other people who would do the hula hoops, who would go the extra gazillion miles, or there are other people out there who would rewind the clock if you could give it back to them to do things differently. There's some people who maybe they found the right person, but it was too late. So people would do different things. So don't take for granted what is in your hands. Never. But the sure way to begin is, I don't believe that you necessarily address it by just bullet for bullet. I just think that it's about straight talk, straight conversations. If we raise this kind of awareness, part of beginning this kind of dialogues, this kind of conversations is a part of it's like an awareness. We're essentially saying, you know what, this conversation was brought out there, and I think that it makes sense. Why do I really why do I really need to go out there and say all these negative things? Try not to bring negative conversation, or to reduce the scale of a person, to degrade a person, an adult, a grown adult, reduce them to the fact that they're not qualified, they're not woman enough or man enough, just because they haven't gone through this. You understand? Just because they haven't gone through one of those things, you suddenly reduce them to one category. So I think that, number one, for those kind of people, you are naive. You're really naive, and it's probably part of even mediocre education, really. Because would people be so insensitive to say things like that? If you understood that we're in times where these things happen around us, if you understood that these conversations happen, that people are having, I mean, there are orphans out there as well. So there are people, and people should not compel you to go and adopt an orphan, because that may not be your right. You may still be believing God for one thing, and unfortunately, even there are people who have the money, they have the skills, they have the willingness to adopt, but they're not even able to. You know why? Because the adoption laws are rigorous. That's why some people go out of the country to go adopt a kid from another country. The people who are selfless, they feel like, you know what, they've come to a place in that. And then there are other people who feel like they already have two kids, maybe their kids are grown, they're out of the house, and they still feel like they have an empty nest. They have room in their hearts to raise yet another child, to give another child the opportunity that maybe their biological kids did. So if there's an orphan, there's an adoptee, there's a person out there who's saying, you know what, they have the compassionate heart for that. Maybe that's why, you see, the law of nature, God sort of matches things. They say he never closes the door without opening a window. So he could have closed the door for one child. Maybe their parents are gone, but he's opening another door for a family that also had a door shut for them. For another family, they were unable to, they've been doing the rigorous tests, they couldn't do it, but they're still able to love another just like theirs, because to them it wasn't so much that the child came from their womb. It was so much that they could hear the sound of a baby in their home. And it's not so much about the fact that biologically it was their child. They just want a child in their environment. I think that if given the chance, every man, woman, obviously those who are choosing for, if given a chance, they will naturally, biologically always want to go to raise their own. But if life did not present that to you, and I'm not even going to say that life denied you that, but if life did not present that to you, in other words, because we are always dealt different cards, and you can only play the cards that you're dealt with. So who raises themselves and says, you know what, oh, I'm going to go create a problem in my womb so that I can do this, or I'm going to make sure that I eat all the wrong things so that my sperm count is low. Nobody does that. But you just grow up and then realize that, oh, I'm predisposed to this, or your body, you're genetically you maybe you have a disease that is inherited from your family. They're just things that you had no choice. You were just perhaps born with that condition, and you have to embrace it. So if that life has dealt you with a particular set of cards, and you're on a particular track, and you choose to embrace another path, there are other paths out there. So people, I think, should refrain from taking those radical moves or those radical perspectives where they just take those positions, and they tell you what you do. If you come to that crossroad in your life where you feel like, okay, I couldn't bring life, so what is my next option? Some people say, they want to adopt. Some people would want to raise other kids. Some people would be content with just raising another family, just assisting another family. Some people would choose other stuff. But it should be known that in today's society, people are actually choosing sometimes to say, I want out. Some people choose to say, I want out. And it is really, I know there are known celebrities out there who do not, by choice, have kids. And has that taken away from their legacy? It has not taken away from their legacy. And they've chosen by choice to do other paths to still be effective. They felt like maybe if they were going to raise their own kid, maybe they felt like they were unable to, or they felt like they could not they're not in a position to provide for the child what they think the child deserves. Again, it's perception. Some people think it takes a whole lot, and if they do that, perhaps it's because they were given a whole lot to begin with, so they feel like they don't want to bring something and give them less than what they had. So if, let's say, you were raised in a home where you were predisposed to so much, your own parents gave you a whole lot, you may feel indebted, and you may feel obliged and obligated to say, you know what, I will have to return the favor. I have to pay it forward. That whatever I do, I must do unto them what was done unto me, and even more. So some people have that level of pressure, that level of obligation. And then again, like I repeat, that there are people who have said to themselves, I refuse to bring life solo. Because they feel like it's not a journey that is meant to be done alone. It's a journey that's meant to ideally, if you go scripturally, it's meant to be father and mother together, come together, and bring life. But in some situations, that has not been there. There's situations where you start out on that path and then it still doesn't work. So what do you say? Or in other scenarios, you start out and then you still don't even get blessed with it. So people have had to do marriages twice or three times because maybe because of children, it was a factor. So this whole childless scenario in some cases, it has led to a lot of depression. It has led a lot to divorces. It has led to crisis. It has led to tension. It has just led to so many sad and pathetic things that are going on in so many different families, so many different dynamics. People have become withdrawn and stuff. And then don't let us even get into a scenario where you have people, maybe you eventually, God blesses you, you eventually bring life, and then you end up as the individual, maybe you have a medical condition after childbirth. Some people have come up with complications that they, as a female, ended up with complications. Some women have had to lose their lives, because they were trying to procreate life. And maybe it's because they went against medical advice, but all because you're trying to succumb to the pressures of society. So to respond to some of the questions, some of the concerns that were out there, is that it would be that, be sensitive. Just bringing the conversation face on, head on, is also raising the awareness. So to those people who think that, if you're a female out there and some people think that you are less just because you have not gone through that journey, shame on you. And if you're a man and it has happened to you as well, you're not procreating, but you're still loving, you're still a great uncle, you're still a great friend to your this, you're still, I mean, you're going out there and helping the Boys and Girls Club, you're going out there and mentoring other people, you're still a valuable contributing citizen into the world. You're probably even better off than those people who are in there. They supposedly have these kids in their homes, but they're not even there for them. There's some kids who will tell you outright They go out. They don't want to return home. There's nothing they don't look forward to returning home. Those kids who want to forever be out of their homes, something ain't right. They're not treating them well. So it's about, if God blesses you with that, if God blesses you with life, do your best. Just do your best. Do your own peace. Do your own peace. The best you can do is pray for them. Pray for the people. If you have someone in your life and you think, and they've told you in confidence, as somebody that they feel like you're a trusted party, they've told you that this is their desire, what you can just do is agree with them in prayers. Wish the best for them, desire something for them, introduce them, maybe assist them to meet people that they would want to meet, versus trying to turn around and introduce negativity. Introduce negativity. Hit them, lowball them, try to lowball them. How does that benefit you? It doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit them. It doesn't. It profits you nothing, absolutely nothing. So I think that people just need to really hold their grounds and just be respectful for people, because you don't know what people are doing in their shadows, or there are people out there who are taking a whole lot of medications just because you're seeing them out there roaming the streets. It's just like people, like I said, there are people who newly diagnosed diseases all over the place. They're roaming the streets out there, looking fine and all, but you don't really know what is hiding behind the skin. After the thick skin is a whole lot. It's a whole lot that is going on, right? So remember that different things happen. I'll listen to a couple of comments, a couple of questions. If you guys have any, so if you guys have any contributions, any things that you want to share with me, feel free to let me know. Again, I'm loving this whole vibe, this new energy that I have here. Thank you so much for constantly supporting, the vision that I'm doing. On Census Sundays, it's just about speaking from the heart. I speak from the heart. I try to bring you things that are, that are just, like just burning issues, that are just burning things, conversations out there. So I say these things because some of them I've lived these personal experiences. I've lived these personal experiences where you've had people who've taken upon themselves to just feel like they just ought to just take control and just say, oh, I've heard the meanest things and I've heard the craziest things. I've heard some really good and positive, encouraging things, but whatever people decide to choose, and there are many people out there. Again, like I said, it's really once you cross, when you're hinging on your 30s. I mean, there are women who are actually working in state of paranoia once they get to 30. It's like 30 is that point where it symbolizes that, if these things have not happened to you, then the world is collapsing on you. That is that point, that bridge where they feel like life is just so people start getting so much pressure that they start taking all the wrong decisions. That's why you end up with a lot of single parents, because they've rushed into all these decisions and just brought life, and thinking that because you brought life, it's going to hinge, you're going to cling on to this other person. And again, you don't know what another individual desires for them. To each their own. If that's what they chose, that's the path that they wanted for them, it was more important to just have that baby and feel secure. Great. For some other people, they felt like maybe it's about marriage, and you get into it's just about just getting married. Really, we should think about, who are you really getting married to. Take the time to marry the right person. Marry the person that is most compatible to you. There's no magical, there's no super perfect person, but just marry the person that is closest, most compatible to you and your goals and your ideals, right? So for women, when they start getting to that 30 mark, I think once you celebrate that 30th birthday, it's a symbol of pressure. Society is like, the pressure is heightened. You're now aware of the fact that, oh my God, you only have like X amount of time for this to happen. But thanks to science, thanks to medical science, and thanks to technology, and thanks to everything that's out there for us, we are starting to realize that the doors of possibilities are open. And women, gracias, have, nature has extended the clock for them a little bit longer. Again, personally, I would advise that if any woman was trying to do it, and life was fair, the universe was aligned with you, do it much earlier in life. First of all, it's more fun for you to to raise kids when you're still in your most active years. Get it done, get it out of the way. But if your path, we all have different narratives. We all have different paths. See, even in the scriptures, there's a story of these two sisters. Two sisters married the same man. Two sisters, same father, same mother. They married the same sibling, but one gives birth, one has children, the other one doesn't. And emotionally doesn't, when she eventually has and dies in childbirth. I mean, so think about it. So how do you explain that the two biological sisters, one is able to give and give and give, give more life, and then the other person. So even identical twins, one has one different path in life, another person has different path in life. One twin could have 4 kids, the other twin has one. One kid could have 10, the other one has 4. So you just never know what the narrative is. Let's understand that you may be born of the same biological parents, but our stories. This is the part where they say, before you were born, I knew you, and I knew the thought that I had for you, and the plans that I had for you were good plans, thought of good things for you. That's the scripture from Jeremiah that says, before you were born. So there's a plan, there's a purpose, there's an intention for each and every one of us. So just because your story is different from Mary's story, just because Susan got married at 20 and her friend is marrying at 30, does not mean Susan suddenly has a way better life than Mary, who got married at 30. They just took different paths in life. There are advantages of being childless. Let's even look at that. There are other advantages too of being childless. The fact that somebody also mentioned the fact that child free. Because when you say child, the reason I chose childless is because that's just as crude as it is. That's exactly how they spell it out to us. And I'm just going to give it the way it's said. They may not say it to your face, but it's what they say behind your back. They're just that blunt. So I just want it to be blunt. That's how it's said. Okay, we can sugarcoat it and call it something else. But then there's also child free. Child free is when you intentionally actually say, you know what, I have made the choice on purpose, intentional. I am waiting for these parameters to be right, or I've decided that, based on what I know about my life, I'm taking this firm stance that this is what I want to do. You take the position that this is what I want to do. Dexter, you crack me up. The guiding mantra should be just do it. Yeah, so again, it should just be that, just take your stand, respect the fact that people have different parameters, different paths in life. That if you choose to go one route, respect the route, and if the other person chooses one route, just respect their boundaries. But that the end ultimately justifies the means. Somebody could do at the tail end of the race, and still there are people who had, who have 5 kids, and the 5 kids turn out to be nothing. When I say by nothing, I mean it's like they're all failures in life. And what I mean by failure is they're not productive citizens. They have nothing to write home. They're not supporting the parents that gave them life. I mean, you really cannot say anything about it. You're not even there for them. You're not doing nothing. I mean, so it's like you had 5, but oh yeah, 5 and 5 are nothing to show for. It's just 5 babies that you popped out in society that they're not really accountable for. But then there's somebody who may have just 1, and their 1 is their Hosea. Their 1 is their 1 makes up for just about everything. So don't write off people until the final book, until the clarion call is made. Nobody has the right to write off another person. It's really not our place. I know of a lady who hit it at the 50th mark. Hit 50, and that's when God decided that it was her turn. Is she still enjoying the fruit of the womb? Absolutely. So people's journeys are different. Is she going to celebrate a child less because it happened at 50, or less because maybe life may not give her she may not have 50 years to enjoy with a baby and stuff. But who are you to say? There are people who had the kids young but didn't have enough life to still enjoy them. I'll give you a reference to my mom. My mom had babies way early in life. But my mom was not blessed with the gift of longevity, did not have life to sit and watch, was not blessed to raise her own kids the way she would have wanted to, had lots of values, but she was blessed. She had 1. So everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different trajectory. Stop crossing lanes and stop crossing paths and just bringing down people or just being negative, just narrating tales that you have no business, you don't know enough of, or have no business really understanding. So that's really, who are we to judge? Indeed, who are we to judge? Who are we to judge? Who are we to judge? So I think that what we should really be thankful for ultimately, we should just be thankful for the gift of life, for those who have count your blessings if that's truly what you desire. For those who don't have but desire for it, I stand in agreement with you. Pray, believe, have positive affirmations, belief systems, and if you know that you're in a place where maybe you so desired, it was what your heart intended, but life has not presented, life is not giving you what you want. There are other options. If indeed, what was more important to you was really nursing that baby, right? If what was really more important to you was nursing that baby, then there are other options out there. Consider adoption. There are a lot of orphans out there. There are a lot of kids in foster care. If you don't want to have a baby, like raise a brand new baby, you can do foster care. There's some people who say, you know what, I have relatives, extended relatives. Some people say, you know what, I don't want to raise a family member's baby, because it may feel like too close quarters, or someone may come back and there are even people, you raise the kids and then family members still come back and laugh at you, make a mockery at you. It's like adding salt to injuries. So I can understand those people who say, you know what, I want to adopt, but I want to just go far. And then there are other people who say, you know what, I don't have it. I've made my peace with it. All I'm just going to do is focus on helping others. They just contribute money, or they just do things that still give them the same fulfillment. At the end of the day, what should really matter is your level of fulfillment. At what place can you find inner peace? If you get to a point where you can find peace, make peace, make amends with your story. If there are things that you have control over that you can change, I say do everything in your power to actually change and effect that change. But if it's something that you have absolutely no control over, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. You can't change it. It is not your fault. It's no fault of yours. And what we would just ask is that people ought to get to a place, a level of maturity. It's not even a place, a level of maturity where you can just respect people that have come to that place where in their life where they just don't have it. And stop treating them like it's a handicap. It is not a handicap. It's not a handicap. It's just like how people say, you can understand how people feel, this, to say somebody is handicapped versus disabled. The terminology is completely different, right? Disability, that's why they changed the language. The choice words for a reason, because one implies a negative vibe to it, and the other one implies that they may have a condition, but they're still able. They don't see themselves as less of, or something. So if somebody has come to a place of peace, allow them to enjoy their peace. You go find yours. Focus on your own peace, and stop invading the privacy and the peace and joy over there. You see, the joy about life is that when you find peace, don't infringe on the happiness and the peace and tranquility of the other person. So if you can just live your life, do you, without infringing on another person's happiness, then we're good. Life is good and peaceful and joyful as it is, right? So I'm gonna read with let me just try to read a couple of comments. Help yourselves with God and we'll help others. But as people try to play God, if we understand that life comes from God's appointment time, then we would appreciate every opportunity He presents to us. Great point, Martha. Great point. The thing is, again, see, if God has given you, be thankful. If He has not given you, you may never understand why there are a lot of women in their marriages or even at night sleeping at home in their beds who are just crying pure misery. They're just crying, just depressed, tears of misery. That pressure, and the pressures keeps mounting. You go out there for every baby shower that is announced. It's a reminder that you wonder, can you still, you wonder, are you even able to celebrate with these people? Sometimes some people don't come to the shower, not because they don't want to. Sometimes it's like they have come to a point where they don't have the ability to celebrate with you. It's not that they're not happy for you. They are engulfed in their sorrow or in the misery of the fact that they are unable to, that they feel like they're not in a position to be genuinely happy. So them seeing you, celebrating motherhood, it's not that they're not happy for you, it's that it reminds them of what they have been desiring. But I would encourage such people to say, you can go there instead and use that as a point of contact and just remind God. Go to your altar and keep praying and remind God that just as you did it from a good way, not so you're not asking for the identical, for the same thing. You're just saying, God, as you were able to bring this level of fulfillment to this woman, I'm extending agreement. I want you to use her as a point of contact for me. Bless me in that same manner that you're with. But let's say you're wanting to have a baby now, you don't have a man. How is the baby going to come? So there's some things that you have to be realistic about. How is the baby going to come now? Yeah, there's a man is needed for the baby. A man will need a woman. So a man cannot just be going around and just popping the thing out there anyhow. So both things. The one thing for sure is that you cannot drink it. So if you're not also availing yourself, if you're not also availing yourself for it, then then it is what it is, right? Then you know that it's just not going to happen magically. But I just believe that I hope that we touch on the key essential point. My intention would be more so that people just try to be more socially conscious, that there are so many variables into this, and just remind yourself as you go along. Don't treat your friends less just because of, or don't uninvite them just because of. I mean, there are some things where you don't really need to be there, but there are some other things where you don't see them as a misfit just because of that, right? So there are other things that's just other abnormal. There's some things where it could be so people exclude you because it's maybe it's a kid thing, because they feel like, oh, it's just a kid thing. You may not really want to be, and rightfully so. It's a kid thing. What will you be doing there? It's only kids. But there are other scenarios where they feel, just be more global. Just have a more 360 view of how you examine things, okay? And allow them to decide for them, and also understand that people are going through their emotional wahalas, married or not, single or not. That those things can happen. There's some people who have one child and they desire more kids and it's not happening. So those childless things is so many different things, man. So many different variables. I just hope that this has helped to embolden or empower somebody out there. My thing is, if you're a woman who's going through those things and maybe you're past childbearing age, I can understand your pain and your dilemma is what you desired, but it hasn't happened for you. Make peace with it, and find other options. Life does not make you less of a person just because you didn't. It's just one thing that you didn't have, but maybe you had a hundred other things. Okay, you had a gazillion other things. So let's focus on what we have and not what we lack. If we focus on the things that we have versus the things that we lack, I think that we will be more thankful and more grateful. So let's go back to the list of the things that we're thankful for and grateful for, and celebrate those things and delve more into that. Okay, let's celebrate on the things that we have. And sometimes if you have the kids, continue to be thankful for them, pray for them, pray and desire great things for them, that they too will rejoice and celebrate and have the same things that you have desired. That just because you see, you may laugh at somebody, but you forget that you're raising a child, and your child too may come into that situation and find and be challenged. So don't be quick to point a finger. Don't be quick to laugh at another person. You just don't know what lays ahead for you. Be more empathetic, more sympathetic, more socially conscious about these variables in life. It makes us all a better society. I hope that we all learn something from this. Encourage someone, go out there and stand and just speak your truth. Speak your truth and live life. Be at peace with everything, whatever cards you're dealt with. Okay. So for me, guys, it's been a wrap. It's been a wonderful conversation, guys. Before I leave tomorrow, I know I normally don't come on tomorrow on Mondays, but I have a special guest for you all the way from Texas. I now have some cool features. I'm going to be able to bring her in remotely. This is Sandra K. Pastor Sandra K. Mario. She's an author. Just wrote a book. She's going to be at the NWC, no, the Congressional Back. She was at the NAACP pavilion, Authors Pavilion, just recently, and now she's going to be at the Congressional Black Caucus this week. She has a book signing event, but you know what? I'm not going to talk more about that because she's coming on tomorrow. All right, so looking forward to having her tomorrow. So this week is really Media Blitz. I'm going to be on your timelines quite a bit this week, and so bear with me. But I hope that you continue to enjoy the sessions. I always love you, Vivi. Your live today. How nice, how nice, how nice. So yes, thank you so much for all the feedback. Listen, guys, this I've, dDTalks is serious, and I hear your feedbacks in the community as we go out there. Just thank you. So I just want to take the time to thank you so much for all the love and support, and the fact that you believe in this vision, and that you share in it. There are things that we need to take us to the next level. Just to keep supporting the cause. It takes time. It takes resources. It just takes a lot to bring you the best research and all of that. I would like to continue doing more, but if you want to advertise your product, you want to be a sponsor to help move this to the next level, by all means, I would be honored. Would be honored to have you live with me. So yes, I'll be having Senator Kemayo, author, on the show tomorrow. So tune in again tomorrow evening. All right, guys. So it's been real. It's been live. It's your girl Diane from my studio. These hugs, right? From the studio right here. So stay tuned, and I always like to tell you that if no one has told you that they love you, you know what's up. You know who doesn't tarry, who doesn't waste time to tell you that I actually do. I love you all, and I love you so much. And passionately, I love you, and I love you with the love of God. All right. So um, make sure you stay blessed. Please share. Just hit the share button. Okay. Just go to that button right up there. It says share. Just share, forward the tag. All right, guys. And of course, like the page, like dDTalks page. Like it. The more likes we get, the more we can do, the more fun stuff we can do. All right, guys. So it's been real. It's been fun. And this is it for me. I'm logging off, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye. Ciao. Ciao, guys. So take care. I was trying to leave you with some music, but that's it. Okay. Take care. Ciao. Bye for now.